yn fawr Arfon am cyflwyniad unigryw na, ac am eich geiriau caredig, ac i chi hefyd am fy nghroesawu fi y bore yma, ac am roi y cyfle i fi am eich cynhadledd. I think we would all agree that it's been a monumental year in the history of Welsh housing, and I'm very encouraged to note that this is the second tripartite housing partnership conference held between CHC, Community Housing Wales, Community Housing Cymru, CHC, the Welsh Local Government Association and ourselves. That, in a way, is the key message about today, tripartite partnership working. And it's a clear statement of intent to everybody in the housing field, including tenants and service users of all kinds, in articulating our joint commitment to working together to meet the challenges in housing and to produce the best possible outcomes for the people of Wales who all need housing of one kind or another. And indeed, part of the reason for being here today is to celebrate the good work and the success that we have achieved looking back over the year, and other speakers will be able to provide you with more detail of what has been accomplished, and I join in celebrating that success, but I also recognise that there's still a great deal to do, and I'll come on to that in a second or two. Now, let's just think what exactly housing does and what does it achieve for people. We all know that bad housing is an indicator of bad health, sometimes of poor social conditions. We all remember that when Eileen Bevans, just over 60 years ago, brought in the National Health Service, his title in the Cabinet was not actually Minister of Health, it was Minister of Health and Housing, because the two were seen as so inextricably linked. But it is wider than that. Housing is one of the best indicators of the quality of life, and if you ask any politician like me as First Minister, what are you trying to do for the people of Wales, I would always answer, I'm trying to give them the best possible quality of life. You don't want to break it up into best health, best housing, best jobs, best opportunities, best schooling. You want to say the best quality of life. But we do know that housing is an absolutely key indicator of a good quality of life. And now, of course, we have the added importance of the Sustainable Development Agenda, and that cannot be addressed without looking very closely at the housing agenda, quality of the stock, especially for us in Wales, when so much of our housing, more than in any other part of the United Kingdom, was built in the glory days when the Welsh economy was expanding left, right and centre across the valleys and the slate quarrying areas of northwest Wales, in the areas industrialising in northeast Wales and the coastal belt cities of Cardiff, Newport and Swansea. They all had this surge of growth between 1870 and 1914, and in those days nobody gave a damn about energy conservation because we seemed to be built on endless supplies of coal, and therefore if you could have a 7-inch gap under the front door to give you a good draft to keep the coal fire going when you had 7 tons of free coal if you were a coal miner, well, you didn't want to conserve energy. You were finding ways of getting a lot of energy up the chimney and from the coal fire. Completely the opposite of what we need today, and we've got a large stock of housing of exactly that kind. So appropriate housing is the platform from which people make their way in the world, from which people bring up their children, send the children off to school, have the children doing the homework that gets them the ability to make the best of their lives later on. And when we are elderly, we all know just how hugely important the right stock of housing for a lifetime's need, whether it's the same house that you can adapt or whether it's moving from one type of housing stock to another as you move through those different stages of your life, including sheltered housing or sheltered accommodation at the end. So in a way, housing is the key thread which holds all of the different other aspects of government together. And I firmly believe that, and I think everybody here in this conference does, and I do believe we all share that belief that everybody should have the opportunity of the right kind of housing at the right price. And of course, you know, it is not easy to organise the right price in the private sector because the United Kingdom housing market has always been characterised by sudden surges in prices that I can remember in 73-4, and we all remember another one in 87-8, and then of course everybody remembers the quite long one really, from 2004 to 2007, doubling of house values, and then the explosion or the slump or the bursting of the housing asset bubble, which has occurred over the past 18 months, from which the housing market in the private sector sense has not recovered. Now that brings us to the last 2 years. We know that because the private residential sector is flat on its back, is still flat on its back, then we have had to switch attention to the social housing sector on a very big scale. We do it partially because that's what people need, because they can't get mortgage finance to access whatever dreams they may have had about private ownership. The construction industry needs it because there is no very little private sector construction going on, and therefore it is a very good time to be switching orders into the social housing sector, because the house building pool of skills, it's very important that we keep that together, and it's a good time to be engaging with those skills in the social housing sector, because the social housing sector isn't going to get snubbed now by saying, oh well, you know, we make much more money by building private housing, because obviously you can't do that if there's no private house building going on. Now, when we think about, therefore, this unprecedented set of changes we've all been coping with at a political level, the collapse of mortgage finance, the run on the Northern Rock, the near run on Bradford and Bingley, could have been RBS, NatWest, and probably HBOS as well, and just how close the entire banking system came to collapse because of subprime in the USA, near subprime or strange things going on with 105% mortgages and so forth, Northern Rock, Halifax, Bradford and Bingley, and so on, chasing the last dollar of the housing boom before it went fut. We have had to really get our skates on to try and provide an alternative. And when you think about what we've done by working together in terms of housing in Wales and trying to steady the ship during these enormous earthquakes that has happened, the word Essex is not far behind. Now, when we say Essex in Wales, we do not usually think about the county council unless it is in the context of Gavin and Stacey. And it's either Gavin, that's one connection between Wales and Essex, really, that has been established by BBC Three and Ruth Jones and Jamie Corden. But the more important one today is nothing to do with the county council or the area of England. It is to do with Sue. And I'm really pleased to see that she's in the audience, but I don't really want to, I want to try and separate out Sue Essex from Essex as an agenda. If Sue doesn't mind, I'd be quite glad if you left the room for the next 5 or 10 minutes. I can talk about Essex without you cringing every time I do it, because it's really quite strange how it's become a depersonalized word now to refer to something wider. It's a representation of key people across the different aspects of the social housing sector working together on an agenda. I mentioned this to Sue at the unveiling of a blue plaque to Iorwerth Peak on her present house, which was his previous house in Rubina, and I mentioned this Essex agenda. She said, oh, I know, it's getting like post-Fordism, she said, you know, and I think she finds it slightly embarrassing. But a success in partnership, it is a personal tribute to Sue, we can't ignore that, but it's gone beyond that now into meaning an agenda of partnership working. And the seminal Essex report in June 2008 stated that if we were to achieve our target as an administration of 6,500 affordable homes by 2011, the housing sectors would all need to do things differently, and we would need to improve the way we work together and focus on Welsh people in housing need post-private sector housing crisis. And look what has been achieved. We have seen very widespread acceptance through the Essex report of the need for change. People and organisations have unreservedly given their time and expertise and support and resources. There has been joint ownership of the Housing Action Programme and of the undertaking freely of a collaborative agenda. The prioritisation and buy-in of that shared agenda has been very widespread. And that's not necessarily an easy thing to achieve in Wales, where different sectors can sometimes go into their different silos and start pointing fingers at others, but that has not happened in the past 2 years, because everybody has seen that there is this elephant in the room of the collapse of the private housing market, and what are you going to do about it? And nobody has said, are you going to point the finger of blame at somebody else and sit back and, you know, smile in the corner? Everybody said, well, we've got to get stuck in and roll our sleeves up, and that's what you've all done.